Hey folks, this is Colin Richards here, president and founder of Lord and Richards, and I'm proud to lead a team of investment advisors that are helping people just like you every single day to retire financially independent from a biblical point of view. In this particular segment, I am talking about a critical topic today. I'm talking about the fact that recession indicators continue to rise here in America. And I feel personally that we've actually been in a recession in a lot of sectors of our economy. Just because it doesn't meet the technical mathematical definition does not mean that we have not seen a recession in our economy, that we aren't seeing people already suffering, out of work, cost of goods are so high, people's lifestyles are being negatively impacted. So I've got a number of concepts I want to share with you in this and my following segment on how Americans are feeling. They're feeling pessimistic, by the way. And so between these two segments, I want to make sure you understand the state of things and how you can prepare for it in advance. Just recently, we had an interview with former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers. Okay, so he was under the Clinton-Obama administration, and he was giving his take on what he sees happening right now, particularly on the subject of interest rates and inflation. Okay. So first of all, he feels there is no question but that the current trajectory of interest rates is not, interest rate increases is not bringing us on that secure sloping path down towards 2% inflation, which the Fed has set as its target. And what he indicated is that historically soft landings, like we've been hearing about, hopefully we can raise these things gradually, have a nice soft landing, minimal impact, everybody's fine, we get back to normal. Well, he said that is really hard to do when inflation is high. This is really hard to manufacture. So here's where he says rates are going. He feels like with the current benchmark set on rates, on the Fed rates to 4.5% to 4.75%, he sees us going probably another 0.5 point to 1.5 points higher, to somewhere between 5 and 6%. So that means we've got a lot of rate increases still to come. That means we're going to continue to see problems in our markets because the markets are reacting negatively every time the Fed raises rates. So if you don't have a clear written plan for protection in your portfolio, this is the time to get it in place. It means that we're going to see problems in our economy and so forth. A day after his interview, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell came out and he stressed, almost as an echo, that the central bank policymakers are prepared to continue to raise interest rates higher than previously expected. So he's already saying, look, we're going to go further than we planned. It's going to be worse. It's going to be worse. Brace yourself, as well as not only going higher, but doing it faster. They're going to pick up the pace. Why is that? Well, because economic data is still hot. Economic data is still hot. You say, well, why then, Colin, do you say that recession indicators are rising? Why do you say that we're in recession? Well, because you've got some areas of the economy, such as hiring, that's the big one, that have kept coming. As companies have relied on large cash stores built up, some of it with federal stimulus money, but cash stores that have been built up, their goal has been to try to avoid layoffs as long as possible. Because let me tell you, as a business owner, I know that it is very expensive to hire people. It is very expensive to release people, and that it is expensive again to hire them again. And so that is just cash down the toilet when you have to go through a series of layoffs. Nobody wants to do that. It's in nobody's best interest, but sometimes companies have to do that. So they're holding on as long as they can. In the next segment, we're going to talk about home sellers and how they've been holding on as long as they can. But we're reaching a tipping point where we're going to start seeing companies capitulate. We're going to start seeing layoffs increase in pace. We're already seeing that in the tech sector, in the mortgage sector. And so here's what Treasury Secretary Larry Summers said is his best advice for you, for corporations, for policymakers. Here it is. He said, hope for the best, but plan for the worst. All right. When a Treasury Secretary says hope for the best, but plan for the worst as being the best advice for people right now, then you better start planning. You better start planning. And my question is, are you naked in the market right now? Have you assume that all was going to be well? Or did you just retreat and go to cash on the sidelines? Neither one of those is great options. You say, well, Colin, aren't those my two choices? I either put my money out there at risk or I stick it in cash and wait for the sun to shine. Well, number one, if you stick it in cash and wait for the sun to shine, odds are you're not going to time it right on reentry. Very difficult to do. You may think yourself a wizard of Wall Street, but there are actually very, very few who time when to take it out as well as when to put it back in. You got to be right on both sides. So cash isn't a great place. But then the other side of it, just putting our head in the sand and saying, well, I'm going to weather the storm, reminds me of military dentistry that I grew up with. I'm sure it's much better now, but growing up as a child in an Air Force home, I remember going in to get my teeth taken care of. I had had meningitis as a small child, and it damaged one of my teeth really bad even before it came out through my gums. And so here I am as a teenager, and they're going to put a crown on this thing. But they discovered that unfortunately they could not numb that tooth. There was just some sensitivity there they couldn't numb. So you think, well, what do? Pack it up? Maybe we're going to change plans, change course, go ahead and use some laughing gas or just put me out. Nope. The advice was hold on. That was it. Hold on. And I'm not going to repeat the sounds that came after that, but let's just say I have never forgotten that experience now, almost 40 years later. Some of you remember what it was like to hold on during the last market downturn in 2022, to hold on during 2008, hold on during 2000. That is not the best advice to hold on. You say, well, Colin, what is the best advice? The best advice is a written risk management plan, which is part of our financial independence review that we do for every single client we meet with. If you're out there naked in the market, Warren Buffett says you only find out who's like that, who's swimming naked when the tide goes out, right? Well, as we look at these markets, I'm not sure which way they're going to go. I sure hope they'll go up. I want my clients, I want everybody to prosper. I want to be able to enjoy years like we've had in the past and see the value of your portfolios go up. But the worst thing to do would be to slip on some rose-colored glasses and forget common sense and fail to have a written plan. Now, by the way, a written plan is not a product. It is not a specific investment. It is a plan that puts together investments with future goals and develops a rock-solid strategy for not repeating the mistakes of the past. That's what I'd love to do for you. Interesting. The Conference Board came out with a survey just recently. 93% of CEOs, the highest ranking officer in most corporations, 93% are readying themselves for recession. Readying themselves. Let me ask you a question. Are you ready? Are you ready? Is your portfolio positioned to weather any storm? Is your plan in place so that when the market goes down, when the economy goes down, you have a plan to deal with it and to prosper even if times are bad? That's what we do at Lord & Richards. We help you prosper through both good times and bad. I'd love to talk to you about how exactly you can do that. It's a delightful process, and it just starts with a simple phone call.